So you've been recording on your phone, huh? Using BandLab and these wire headphones. And you ready to get a real studio twin, but you don't know where to start? I got you. I'm finna walk you through everything that you need to get for your home studio. Let's go. Alright, so in this video, I'm basically gonna cover everything that you're gonna need to get, and I'm gonna keep it kind of budget friendly. It ain't gonna be too expensive, but at the end of the day, this is audio gear, tech gear, so it's still gonna cost a little bit of money at the end of the day. But I'm gonna try to point you in the right direction. That way, by the end of this video, you at least got an idea of what you need to get, what kind of brands you need to be looking for, and all that good stuff. So I hope that in this video, you able to, at least build some parts of your home studio, and then you can just always add on top of it. So let's get into it. All right, so we're gonna break it down into 5 categories. The first thing you're gonna need, of course, is the computer. Computer is like the main power horse. Like, if you ain't got the computer, you ain't gonna be able to do nothing. So yeah, the computer. Number 2, you got the audio interface. The audio interface is a big part because it's like the brain, twin. Everything gets connected to the audio interface. The speakers, the microphone, the computer. Yeah, so we want to make sure that we got a somewhat decent audio interface because, like I said, it's processing everything, okay? Number 3, we got the microphone. You feel me? Now, starting out, you ain't got to get the best quality microphone. I ain't going to tell you to go out there and get a U87 Twin, but I am going to tell you get something decent that suffices your environment. You feel me? Like I said, don't go out there and get no C800 Twin and your room trash Twin. All right. Number 4, we got headphones, speakers, you feel me, all in the same. How you gonna hear your music? You feel me? I don't want you listening out your computer. So these are a big part too. You feel me? We're gonna jump into it though. I'm gonna tell you which ones to get and all that. And then number 5, Twin, this is a big one, your environment, Twin. You wanna make sure that we have some type of environmental treatment of some sort. You feel me? Like I said, we're gonna jump into it. I just wanted to give y'all the 5 things that we're gonna cover. So let's get into it. All right, so the first one that we're gonna cover obviously is the computer, Twin. Now over here, Team Mac, you feel what I'm saying? But if you got a PC, that's good too. You just want to make sure the main things that you want to make sure for your computer that you have is enough RAM, Twin. RAM is the one thing that I want you to really hone in on and make sure. You do not want no 8 GB RAM. So when I first started out, let me tell y'all a little story. I started out with a MacBook Air. This was a MacBook Air, 8 GB of RAM, trying to run Pro Tools. Let's just say it was hard. You feel me? Because the moment you start loading all these plugins and everything, and your computer your fan sounds like it's finna blow up, yeah, you know you got a problem, Twin. You feel me? So that's the problem I ran into, and it forced me to have to upgrade my computer. You feel me? So when you're searching for your computer, the main thing that you want to hone in on is the RAM, Twin. All right? All right, so the next thing that you want to keep in mind when it comes to searching for your computer is the SSD. All right. Now, you can always get an external SSD because, we don't really want to store everything on our computer that slows our computer up. So the SSD helps us to, not keep everything on the computer. But like I said, we can always get an external one. You feel me? And then lastly, for searching for your computer, Twin, you want to make sure that you have a good processor. Intel 5, that's a good one. You feel me? But most Macs, lovely. As long as you get a 16 GB one, you're good, Twin. You ain't even got to think about all the little, ins and outs. You'll be fine. You feel me? Like I said, I ain't telling you to go out there and buy the most expensive computer. The computer that you got right now is probably good enough, Twin. I ain't telling you got to go buy a Mac. What I'm saying is, learn the programs, learn how to mix. And then once it becomes a hindrance, your gear, that's when you upgrade, Twin. That's when you go get a new computer. You feel me? That's when I upgraded. So when I had my MacBook Air and everything was running good, I ain't upgrade. I upgraded once, it started holding me back. I couldn't run sessions. Every time I load too many tracks, it probably buffer out, give you that error message, hardware buffer size. You feel me? So that's what will go on with me. So like I said, your current computer probably works right now, Twin. Just rock out with that until it turns into a point where it's holding you back. All right. All right. Next, we're going to talk about the brain, the interface, Twin. All right. The interface, Twin, this is what converts everything, Twin. This is what converts your microphone into the computer. You feel me? The speakers get plugged up into this. Like I said, this is the brain. This is an Apollo Twin X. This is a little bit on the expensive side. I'm not telling you to go out there and just off the rip go buy Apollo Twin X. You feel me? A good alternative to this that a lot of people start out with is the Focusrite. You feel me? The Focusrite is something that I started out with. It held me down until I had to upgrade, and I didn't really have to upgrade. It was more of a preference thing. But yeah, audio interface is the brain twin, so you want to make sure that you're getting something of quality. Like I said, I like Focusrite. Focusrite does this thing. But don't get caught up in, like I said, getting just the top gear right away, twin. Learn the programs, learn how, everything works. And then you could, little by little, add little upgrades to your setup. But for right now, twin, like I said, just go Focusrite. If you just starting out and you need something on the budget, that little red box is amazing, I promise. Now, when we do talk about upgrades and we do talk about moving into, audio interfaces like this, there is benefits. I'm not gonna lie. You got UAD, where you could run, analog style plugins directly through the interface. You feel me? And we can kind of get that analog sound that's in, the big studios and kind of emulate the sound a little bit. But like I said, there is a benefit of that. The Focusrites can't do that. So, but don't get caught up in that. That's more so like getting advanced and, that's going into a whole nother thing. But like I said, that little box is going to do you perfectly fine. I promise to it. All right, next we're going to talk about the handy dandy mic. This little baby right here. This is where the sound really come from, twin, the microphone. You feel me? Like, yeah, the interface going to, take a little bit of that load too, and that's going to give you some of your clarity and all that too. But that microphone, twin, that's what give you your sound for real. So like, if you got a trash microphone, it's gonna be trash. That's why these BandLab recordings on these headphones right here, they don't be sounding all that good because the microphone in here ain't all that good, twin. You feel me? So when it comes to looking for some low budget microphones, the one my go-to is the AT2020. That's the one I started off with. It did amazing. I heard like Billie Eilish made some records on the AT2020 too, but like I said, it did good for me. It didn't like have no bad frequency response. It was smooth for me. That's probably, and it's $100, twin. Like, that junk $100. So it's definitely budget friendly. When you start moving up in the ranks, I got a TLM 103. You feel me? I feel like this is great for home recordings because, like, let's say a U87, it's very sensitive. You should feel me? So the higher end microphones, you're gonna start becoming more sensitive. So like I said, what I wanna do is I wanna go out and buy a C800, go put it in my bedroom, because I'm telling you, twin, you're gonna be hearing across the street, twin. You're gonna be hearing the birds, twin. You're gonna be hearing everything. So you ain't gotta get nothing too crazy. Get something that suffices your environment and captures your voice. You feel me? Your voice might sound good on this microphone, but you watching this thinking that it sound good on this, twin. Like, my voice sound good on the 103. I ain't telling you go buy a 103. It's a good microphone. Neuman's lovely. But I'm not telling you go buy a 103, twin, like, because your voice might not sound good on it. You feel me? So do what works for you. Find what works for you. You're gonna have to do a little experimenting. You might have to go to different studios and experiment on different microphones and see what microphone suits your voice the best, because I promise there's a microphone that is your sweet spot, okay? One thing I would say when it comes to shopping around for microphones that I would keep in mind is I like XLR. So this is XLR. This is XLR. I don't like USB. Y'all know what a USB look like. I don't like this. All right. The reason is I just feel like the connection be way better with XLR. You feel me? I feel like it's just a way better. It's almost like how we have USB-C now, and we went from USB. I feel like it's kind of like that. I feel like it's just a way better connection. Now, if you only got USB, rock out with it. I'm not gonna say it's just gonna like let you don't let it hold you back just because you got a USB microphone. Still record your music, get your reps in. At the end of the day, it's about getting them 10,000 hours. So it don't matter if you on BandLab or a professional studio, as long as you putting that work in. You feel me? So that's what I say about that. All right, so next we're gonna talk about the headphones. The headphones is important, twin. This is how we hear our music. You feel me? We wanna make sure that we got a good pair of studio monitors. All right. So my go-to is the Audio-Technica MX50. These are great for mixing, mastering. You feel me? Especially if you're in a bedroom. These is good because they kind of like keep the frequency response, even. It captures bass well. It's just overall a good solid headphone, especially for home recording. You can, like I said, you can mix through them. You really don't even need speakers if you got these. Now, I would advise you to get speakers because, we want to see how our mix sounds on different, elements and different environments and all that. So I would advise you to get speakers, but these MX50s, man, they fire. Now, if you is shopping around for some other ones, I think it's called like, dang, I forget what they call, Budinger or something like that. I forget what they call, but they fire too. It's another big brand. It's like, dang, I forget what the name of them headphones is called. But anyway, I go these. Sony's is good too. Them Sony studio headphones. Just make sure they close back because you don't want any headphone bleed when you're recording. And then also if you got, if you plan on doing recordings for people, make sure you get 2 of them. So that way they can hear themselves and you can also hear what's going on while they recording. All right. Now, when it comes to studio monitors, I wouldn't go too crazy for a home studio if it's not treated, the room is not treated. I got the KRK5s. I'm finna upgrade to the Yamahas. I was gonna go Yamaha 8, but at the end of the day, like I just said, I'm in my bedroom. So you don't wanna go too crazy if your room ain't treated because you're gonna be bouncing a lot of frequencies off. So if you're in a smaller room, get a smaller speaker. Don't go in no bedroom, no treatment, and go get a HS8 twin. Don't do that. You feel me? I promise you, you're not gonna capture the mix the right way. Like I said, if you're on a budget, just get the headphones. You can always upgrade and get the speakers later. MX50s, my go-to. Now, a lot of people miss this one over. Everybody go out and get, the Apollo Twin X, MacBooks, Neumann U87, Yamaha HS8s. They go out and get all that stuff, right? But the number one thing people miss out on is the room, twin. They don't treat their room. You can have all this expensive gear, but if your room ain't treated, I promise it's going to lower the quality of all that stuff. It probably might still sound good, but just imagine if you treated the room, twin, what it would sound like. And then lastly, we're going to talk about probably the most overlooked part, the room, twin. Now, I know at a home studio, it might be hard to treat a room. We might be in a room like I am, in my bedroom. So it might be a little hard to treat a room. So some things that we can do to kind of semi-treat it or kind of up our recordings at home is, say, I could go in my closet. That's a good one. You know why the closet's good? It has a lot of clothes in there. It has a lot of things that'll catch the sound and not have the sound traveling. It'll give it that booth sound almost. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you can't go in the closet, you got too much clothes or you got too much clutter in your closet, make sure you're not in a room that has nothing in it. You don't want to be in a room that is just empty, nothing's in there. You just got your computer and your microphone interface and that's it. No furniture. Try to be in a room that got some beds, clothes. Maybe you got the clothes rack, something. Put something around to catch the microphone. Even if you was in a living room that got couches, that's even better. You feel me? So, like I said, I know at a home studio we are kind of we can't beat the house, twin. You feel me? We can't beat the house, so we could put up foam panels around the room. That'll help too. That can get kind of pricey though, so you can kind of look into some DIY and try to build it yourself. That'll be real cost efficient. Just make sure you look up some videos on placement because placement of the panels is very important. Also, when you're recording at home, avoid corners. Corners bounce off sound, so you don't want to be in a corner where it's bouncing off 2 sounds. Try to be in the middle of the room. That's where you really want to be. All right. So next you're gonna need a software, twin, a DAW. That's what we call it, DAW. You feel me? Pro Tools, Studio One, Logic, FL, Ableton. Yeah, the list go on. You need a DAW. That's what's gonna capture our vocals. It's gonna capture our everything. It's what we use to run everything. So the industry standard, we team Pro Tools over here. I'm always gonna tell you go with Pro Tools, twin. So for beats, of course, I feel like FL is king, but for recording vocals, Pro Tools, and that's what you're gonna see in a lot of big studios, you feel me? So the Pro Tools that I would say go with is either Artist, and there's another one above Artist. But yeah, Intro is good too, but you're kind of limited on tracks if you're just getting started and you just want to learn. Pro Tools Intro is good for just learning the software and just, you know, getting a feel for it. Like I said, get your hours in, twin. You got to get your hours in. You can't just watch all these tutorials, watch all these videos, and then you don't go back and work on it. So just make sure you're going back and also trying to learn what, you know, these sounds are doing. Train your ears. That's a big part of it. Just like a bodybuilder working out, twin. How he work his muscles out and they get bigger, twin. We got to work our ears out as engineers, as artists, to hear different sounds, all right? All right, so to recap, twin, the only things you need is a computer, a microphone, an audio interface, some speakers or some headphones, and then, you know, just a semi-good space. One thing I did forget to cover is with the space, if you can't get a good space, I'm not a big fan of the Chaotica eyeballs, but I am a fan of what we call vocal shields. So I would go with a vocal shield over a Chaotica eyeball. Feel me? Chaotica eyeball is kind of going to suffer the microphone, and we really don't want that. We kind of want to leave that microphone open. We want to capture the characteristics of the microphone. Now, if that's what you're going for as far as stylistic purposes with the Chaotica eyeball, go for it, all by means, you feel me? But as far as starting out, I say just try to capture the microphone. That way you're not having to overcompensate for the muffledness of the Chaotica eyeball. But that's it, twin. Keep it simple. Upgrade as you go. You ain't got to move too fast or go buy the most expensive gear right off the rip. Don't feel like that. Learn and just every day try to get 1% better. You ain't got to get 100% better. If you're not in school, subscribe to the channel. We got great content coming. But if this was helpful, man, drop a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know below anything else that y'all want me to cover. Any videos that y'all feel like y'all having trouble with in the studio. Artist or as a engineer. Artist or as a engineer. Man, y'all reach out to me. I'm not Hollywood. I'm a regular person just like y'all, man. But that's it for me today. Anything y'all need help with, drop it down below. Look out.